All right, let's take a look at midpoint. Okay, the midpoint is exactly as it sounds. It's the middle of a line segment. Okay, so here we have the midpoint M of AB is a point that bisects or divides a segment into two congruent segments. So what they're saying here is that we have a segment from A to B. The midpoint is right in the middle of that. Bisect means to cut into two equal, excuse me, I put an M there. Cut into two equal pieces. The way we indicate equal lines is by putting a hash mark on them. That tells us those two are the same length. Okay, so their example here is that say that AB is 6. Okay, so we have this line from A to B and its length of 6. Okay, then AM would have to be 3 because if M is the midpoint, it goes right in the middle. And if we cut 6 into two equal pieces, what do we get? We get 3 and 3. So from A to M is 3. That's what they're saying here. And from M to B is 3. Okay, so a midpoint divides a segment into two equal parts. So here's our first question. Suppose Y is the midpoint between X and Z. Okay, so we have X and Z. They said suppose Y is the midpoint, which means Y has to go right in the center there. Oh, there went my drawing. Sorry about that. Here we go. I'll draw it again. Okay, so we have X and Z. They said Y is the midpoint, so it's going to go right in the middle. These two lines are equal. Suppose also that XZ is 5.6. So the distance from X to Z is 5.6. So from end to end, that is 5.6. What is the length of YZ? Okay, so the question, what is that length right there? Well, we know that Y is the midpoint, which means it cuts XZ into two equal parts. So we're going to take our 5.6 and we're going to divide it by 2 so that we know what the size of each part will be, the two equal parts. And we get 2.8. Okay, so that means this is divided into two segments, length 2.8 and 2.8. So our answer to this question is that YZ is equal to 2.8. Alright, here we are on the next question. Suppose that S is the midpoint of RT. So it's always best to draw a picture of it. RT, we know, is a line segment from R to T. Suppose S is the midpoint. That means it needs to be right in the very center, and then it's going to make two equal pieces here. RS is 46. So this section here from R to S is 46. What would the length of RT be? Now notice RT is from end to end. Well, if that was the midpoint, we know the other half has to be 46 also. And so RT would be 2 46s. You can either write that as 2 times 46, or you can just add the 46 plus 46. Either way, we get RT is 92. Alright, once again, let's set up the problem. Notice here now we've included some x's in our problem. Now this happens a lot in geometry. They give us geometric principles and then they mix those together with some algebra. And they ask us to solve the algebra problem that was brought up using geometry. So let's start here. S is the midpoint of RT. So again, let's start with that. We have a line segment from R to T. And S is the midpoint, which means S is right in the center and creates these two equal segments. Okay, now let's label what they've given us. RS is negative 4x, and ST is negative 5x minus 8. Okay, so I've labeled each distance now, the two pieces. And then our job when we're doing geometry is to say, okay, what do we know about those two pieces? If S is the midpoint, what do we know? We know that if S is the midpoint, these two pieces are exactly the same size. So we know that negative 4x is equal to negative 5x minus 8. So we used a geometric principle to set up an algebra equation, because we cannot answer what RT would be until we know the value of x. We can't say RT is something with an x in it. So we solve from here. Our job is to get x on the same side of the equation. We had a negative 5x, so if we add, do the opposite and add 5x to both sides. Negative 4 plus 5 gives us just a 1x equals negative 8. Okay, so we're partway there. We found out that x is negative 8. They want to know the length of RT. We found x. Now what we do is we go back to each of these, and in the place of the x, we put a negative 8. So RS was negative 4x. It's negative 4 times negative 8. That was our x. So from R to S is 32. Now if we did our problem right, ST should be 32 also, but let's use our math to double check. So we know ST was negative 5x minus 8. So if x is negative 8, that means we have negative 5 times negative 8 minus 8. Negative 5 times negative 8 is 40. And 40 minus 8 is 32. Perfect. We know we did our job well because we came out with two equal segments like we should have. Now let's answer the question. What is RT? What's the length from R to T? So if we start at R and we go all the way over to T, what was the distance there? Well, it was 32 and 32 more. Again, you can do 32 times 32. You can add the two 32s together. Either way, it is 64. Hey, this one is kind of a fun trivia question that has to do with midpoint. A straight path goes through the woods. Okay, so pardon my drawings here, but let's say we've got some trees here. We're in the woods. Okay, here we go. We've got the woods, okay? And here's the end of the woods. Here's the start of the woods, and we have a nice little deer here. This is also going to be quite impressive, I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to have to draw him down here. We can't see him up there. There's my deer. And he's walking through these woods. It wants to know if he's walking deeper and deeper into the woods, and he keeps going on this straight path through the woods. At what point is he leaving the woods instead of going into the woods? So he starts going through on this straight path. When is he going out instead of in? And that would happen halfway through, right? The first half, he's going into the woods, and then right here in the middle, he starts the rest of the way would be going out of the woods. What is that middle point called? It's the midpoint. So the midpoint of the segment is where the deer would begin going out of the woods rather than into the woods. Alright, here we are with another midpoint question. Suppose B is the midpoint of AC. Again, set up what we know. We know we have a line from A to C. We know B is the midpoint, so it's right in the middle and creates two equal segments. AB is 6x, so let's label. So this section length is 6x. BC is 2x plus 4. That section is 2x plus 4. They want us to find AC, so the distance starting at A, going all the way to C. Well, we have a problem here. Our lengths that we have x's in them, which means we use a principle from geometry to set up an equation and solve this. The principle from geometry we're going to use is the midpoint. The midpoint is in the middle, makes two equal segments. So we know that 6x has to be equal to 2x plus 4. We're going to solve that for x. So I would subtract 2x from both sides. I get 4x equals 4. I have 4 times x. To get x alone, I would have to divide both sides by 4. We get x is 1. Did we want x? No, we wanted to know what AC is, but we're partway there. Now that we know what x is, we can come back to these and substitute 1 in for x. So my AB would be 6 times 1, or 6. BC should be exactly the same. Let's try it out. It would be 2 times x1 plus 4. That gives me 2 plus 4, or 6. So very good. 6 and 6. Now answer the question. What is the length from A to C? Notice it's 6 plus 6 more, or 2 times 6. It is length 12.